Liss, and the name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me as we explore places to go and things to do. This is a very unusual program because my guest today is Norman J. Liss, me. I've been asked so many times by people on how do you know all these things that are happening? How do you keep track? And I'm going to convey that information to you, and I'm going to be the guest. And I've asked a friend, someone who has been on this program many times, to interview me. She's Nancy Gold, who is the president of the Gold Standard, outstanding tourist person in Westchester, public relations person, marketing person. And Nancy, I'm the guest and you're the questioner, so fire away and I'll answer as best I can and maybe fill in some information for people.
Great. Well, welcome to The Way to Go, Norman.
Oh, it's nice to be here.
We're very glad you could join us today.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. We, as your loyal followers and viewers, have been curious for some years now as to where you get all this information. You know more about what there is to do in this area than any living human being.
I don't think that's so.
It must be.
I don't think that's so. Maybe I convey the fact that I know a great deal. But the interesting thing is that everything is accessible. It's all there, and it's all around us. And I hope today we'll be able to cover some of the things that exist. But one of the key things is get on mailing lists.
Ah, great idea. And how do you do that?
Well, just look in the papers, make a list of places that are interesting, the Emlyn Theater, Caramore, the Hudson River Museum, on and on and on in New York, all museums, 92nd Street Y, and ask to be put on that mailing list.
Just call them up and...
Call them up, and they'll be happy to put you on the mailing list, and then you will know what's going on. Now, a lot of people say that they get a lot of junk mail. You know, junk mail is mail you don't want. But mail that you do want is hardly junk mail. I like to receive mail from people who are giving me information. That's all there is to it.
So you get all these wonderful brochures, and you look them over, and you say, gee, that looks like fun, or scratch that one off, or choose this and that. And
keep track is
you do?
The answer to it. I keep track in several ways. There are two types of things that take place. There are those that take place on a certain day, a certain performance at a certain theater on a certain day. And then there are ongoing things. There are things that will start May 15th and run through July 14th. So I classify them in two ways. I call them dated, which are an exact date, and undated, which are long runs. And I keep two files. I happen to keep it in a computer. You can put it anywhere you want as long as you make a list. And you make a list of them. So you put down if something comes up, it's going to be on May 15th. Well, on May 15th, you put down Emlyn Theater, so-and-so is performing. And if there's reference material, you give it a key number, and then you put it into a file, and you can always go and refer to it.
You are really organized.
It's that simple.
I have a basket, and I sort of put the brochures in a basket, and that's about the extent of my organization.
Now, ongoing things I do by the date that it closes. So that rather than putting it in by the starting date, I put it by the closing date. So if this is running through June 15th, I will put in May 1st to June 15th. And then on June 15th, when I review it once a week to see what's on. If I haven't done it, if I haven't gone to do it, then I'd better see that before it closes.
Then there must also be some room for things that are on all the time. I mean, like places that you can visit that are open, 9, 12 months out of the year.
They fall into the category, and I do have a list, and I call them places. And they also are keyed the same way with a hard copy reference in a file folder so that I can do it. Now, I review these once a week, by the way, and I look at the things that are ongoing for the next week, and then those things that will be closing for the next week, and then calendar those things that I want to do.
You know, there's so much going on in the area. To have a system like that where you can really kind of track it and keep abreast of everything that's happening and changing must really be wonderful.
You well know there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But my area is not just Westchester. My area is basically from the top of Connecticut to the bottom of New York. So I've covered on this program, and I've been to places like the Barnum Museum in Bridgeport, and I'm on their mailing list, and the aquarium in Brooklyn.
Oh, that's a nice place.
And these are all places that I'm on their mailing list.
Do you go the other direction much? Do you go up the Hudson Valley and get into things that are doing up there?
I do. I do. I do that, but in a broader sense. I don't consider them to be day trips, so to speak, and they require a different type of planning. There is so much going on in this area that you could be out every day, all day, and there are some days where we go to 2 or 3 things and just plan it that way.
That's fun, to put things together and make a whole day of it.
Oh,
That's really a fun thing to do. Well, what, in addition to getting on mailing lists, what else should people be aware of that are sources of information?
Oh, there are several. One of them is the newspapers. If you read carefully the Gannett newspaper on Thursday, which is the weekend, they will list an awful lot of things that are happening. Then, of course, the New York Times is a wonderful, wonderful source because on every Sunday they publish an arts and leisure list, which is in the back of the arts and leisure
that great
section.
whole-page calendar.
It's 2 pages, actually.
2 pages,
Two
that's
pages,
right.
actually, and it starts with the Broadway Theater. It lists exhibits in museums and photography, art. And it's great to have, and I save it from week to week, and it's up on the refrigerator, so it's easily accessible. And that is because if you want to know what's playing at what theater, or if you want to know where a theater is located or where a museum is located, that's a reference point, and it sits there and it's updated each week. And of course, in the Times Westchester Weekly, which is every Sunday, they list an awful lot of events that are taking place. So you can list those too. But it's everywhere. If you want to go broader, New York Magazine has wonderful information, and there's a lot that you can find out in there. And then, of course, there's books. Now I have an extensive library, and perhaps we can talk about some specific books, but I have an extensive library of my own about books which give an awful lot of information. In addition of which, I mentioned the word library. The public library has great books. You don't have to own these books. There was one book, as a matter of fact, called Nooks and Crannies of New York, written by David Yeadon, who is a Westchester resident. Now, this is a very interesting book. I used to take this out of the library more than anyone else. The librarians could tell from the names that were on there that I had it more than anyone. It was a great find. And then one day I discovered that David Yeadon lives in Westchester. And I called him and spoke to him, had him on this program a few times. This is one of the greatest books. Libraries have them, own it. It takes you into places in New York City that you wouldn't believe that you have passed by.
It's a great title, New York's Nooks and Crannies. I love that.
He's done Nooks and Crannies on other places.
Oh, really?
He's a great travel writer, and he
So
writes.
it sort of gets down into what's really available and possible for people to do.
Yeah, well, you know, New York City is a wonderful place. There are so many places that people don't know about that exist. One of the things that I do is I clip from the Sunday Times real estate section. There is a feature every week written by Christopher Gray, who is an architectural historian, about interesting places. Now, I clip them and I save them. And I save them in folders by where they're located, uptown, east side, west side. And if I have 2 or 3 hours someday, Sunday's a very good day to do that, we'll just take 2 or 3 of these and go driving and read them. Just did it this past weekend. And you find things that you've passed by many, many, many times. There's a sliver of a building somewhere. There's an odd architectural feature. There's something that has some history. And you find these, they're there all the time, but you never see them until someone points it out to you.
Now, did you do this before you started this show, Norman? Was this
No.
pastime of yours?
No, the show is actually an outgrowth of my interest. Since I was a kid, I used to love to go exploring with a camera, and so I've always done that. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I have always gone and done things like that. And several years ago, we said, how can we convey to people the information that we have? So we said, why don't we do a newspaper column? So we started to write a newspaper column. It was in the Women's, what is it?
Women's News?
Women's News. Mm-hmm. It was called Weird and Wonderful. Now, my wife and I wrote the column, and people used to say that it didn't describe where we went, it described the authors, and everybody knew which of us was weird and which of us was wonderful. And we did that for some time, and that was interesting. And kind of out of that, grew the idea to do a TV show. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing this now every week for 5 years, and interviewed some fascinating people, curators of exhibits, museum directors, performing arts center directors, authors. People come, strangely enough, from all over the country. Next week, there's a woman coming in from California. She's written a book called Making It Big, about the show Big. And she followed it from the very beginning of the idea, not knowing whether it would be a success or a failure, and followed what went into the making of a show. An interesting point that I've learned is that they did not know whether the show would be a success or not. And in her contract with the publisher, that if it did not make it, they did not have to publish it. But they decided to go ahead with it, even though it got bad reviews.
Because it was still an interesting story.
The story is even more fascinating. And so she's going to be coming in from California, and I'll be talking to her next week.
That's great. You know, when I first moved up to Westchester, which is probably, 25 years ago, the general opinion was that there wasn't really all that much to do here in Westchester.
Well, you know better
had to go
than
to
that.
the city, for something interesting to do, and it's not so. I mean, the city's wonderful, but Westchester just has such a wealth of things to do.
And of course, I don't want to interview you again, as I've done so many times here. Of course, you're doing so much to make that possible by bringing to the attention of the people all the things that are happening here. There's so much to do. You don't have to leave the borders of Westchester to see interesting things. And it doesn't cost a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true.
There are things that you can do. There are things that you can do which are free. And as a matter of fact, free is an interesting subject because there is a book. This happens to be in New York. There's a book called "The Best Things in New York Are Free." Now, there's a whole book on the subject of free. There are so many things that you can do that cost little or nothing. And
like the Staten Island Ferry, for one
Staten
thing,
Island
just very
Ferry
obvious.
Is marvelous. Right. Now, another place that's very interesting and that's free is an organization, not free actually, called the Brooklyn Center for the Urban Environment. It's a wonderful organization in Brooklyn, but they do walking tours and bus tours all over, and they charge $5 or $6 to go on tours. Walking tours are a great subject, by the way. I've done many of them, and they exist all over. There's a book, a guide to walking tours. So, a book like this becomes obsolete almost the day it's written.
Sure.
But there are so many sources in here about walking tours. There are so many organizations that are offering them, and they're fascinating. They're great. And here's another book that offers that information.
That's great. Boy, you're a wealth of information.
One of the great sources for walking tours, and one of the best walking tours, is the 92nd Street Y. Now, the 92nd Street Y, among all of its other programs, lectures, cultural programs, concerts, have great walking tours. And they have them all the time. These catalogs are available. You can be on the mailing list. You can stop at the 92nd Street Y and pick it up anytime. And they put these catalogs out. There's great things in here, walking tours that are terrific.
Do you know, you really haven't seen a place until you've walked it. It's true. I mean, you can drive through any place, USA, and it's one experience. But to get out and actually put the feet on the pavement and really poke around and see what's out there, it's a very different experience, isn't it?
Plus the fact that the people who conduct these walking tours nobody makes a lot of money doing this, so they're doing it because they love it. There are these tour guides who have been doing this for years, and they have so much information. They point out things to you that you would not see. And you say you don't see anything unless you walk it. You don't see it even when you walk it unless someone points it out to you. You can, like there's stories in the paper now about them redoing the ceiling at Grand Central Terminal, but they're leaving that one spot up there to show how it was with all the dirt accumulated. Now that's an interesting point that people know about because it's in the paper. But if you go on a walking tour, for example, they will show you a place in the front of the Woolworth building where there are caricatures actually of the people, the architect. And there's a place, for example, in front of a church on Fifth Avenue that in the design they built in a dollar sign. And it was just a subtle way of saying that people with money go to this church. Now, how would you learn that unless someone pointed it out to you?
Yeah, it's not the type of thing you'd notice right away. One
of the things that I get a pleasure in doing is when I'm driving by or walking with someone, and I say, let me show you something on that church that's very interesting.
That's great.
Like Trinity Church down on Wall Street and Broadway. There's a Jewish star, actually, right in the entranceway.
What are some of the free things that you know about that you could tell us a little bit about, say, in Westchester, that would be fun to do?
Well, let me go broader than that.
Okay.
One of the great free museums is the Fashion Institute Gallery.
I've never been there.
27th Street and 7th Avenue. And they're open every evening, I think, till 8 o'clock. I believe they're closed on Mondays. It is, in my opinion, one of the best galleries anywhere. The quality of the exhibits, the cleverness of the exhibits, the brilliance of the displays, beyond comparison. It's free.
Wonderful.
There's a museum of folk art right opposite Lincoln Center. Free. These things are all there and available for anybody to go to.
If you just do a little homework and figure out where they are.
Hudson River Museum to get to Westchester, Friday nights, free. The aquarium, not the planetarium, planetarium and the exhibits are free. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to pay anything. It's free. Underwritten by Texaco. Corporate support is very, very important, as you well know, in Westchester and all these things. So there are things everywhere. Libraries have great exhibits everywhere you go, and there's so much to do.
I think you just sort of have to make a decision the way you obviously have to really pay attention and to move out into that wonderful world that's there for all of us to take advantage of instead of kind of sitting home and watching it roll by,
Why not?
Yeah.
All this is out there. Years ago, I used to go up to the Westchester County Airport and sit not on the terminal side, but on the opposite side, and you could see the airplanes taking off and landing. You got a wonderful perspective of it. If you're interested in airplanes, if you're really interested, you could buy yourself at Radio Shack or other places, you can buy yourself an aircraft radio. You can actually hear the pilots talking to the controllers and actually see the planes, and that's free.
It's great.
You're just there.
It's great. Free entertainment.
Free entertainment.
Yeah, good. Do you have any special places that you particularly like that you can recommend to our viewers?
Yeah, I have favorite museums. One of them I mentioned already, the Hudson River Museum, which is really one of my favorites. They do a wonderful job and so involved. I also love the Katona Museum, which is, of course, close to where you are, and you're very familiar with Katona and everything that goes on there. President of the Chamber of Commerce of Katona.
And we're very proud of that museum.
It is. It's a great museum, and they do wonderful exhibits. And one little secret there, also free, by the way. One of the secrets there is every day at 2:30, you don't even have to check on it. They have a docent who does a tour.
That's right.
And it's just not something that's widely promoted. And if you're going to go there at just before 2:30. Sometimes they have half a dozen other people. Sometimes you may be the only one going on the tour. And there's so much to learn by going with the docent. It's like a walking tour. You go to the Metropolitan Museum, they always post those tours that they have going around. You can always go on one of those tours. It takes you inside. It's best to have someone. I like that better, incidentally, than the recorded message. I feel that when you're going, it's great to get all the information with the recordings that they have, but you're kind of a prisoner of it. And even though you can pace it by your own time, you really got to go the whole thing. Whereas these walking tours, there's people and they change and they're individual. So I prefer that approach.
When you're contemplating going into the city, say for theater, which I know you love, do you use the tickets booth in Times Square?
Sometimes.
You do. Does that work for you?
Well, it doesn't work for me because I don't wait online. My wife does.
Nice setup.
It's fine. It's good. It's 50% off on most shows, 25% off on some that are a little more popular. And it's a great way to see theater, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to do that. And if you really want to see something, surprisingly, you go and you say, gee, I'm never going to be able to see this show, but I'm willing to wait 6 months. And you go to the box office, and how soon can I get a good seat? You ask him, and he says, how about next Tuesday?
Yeah. Nice.
And there are always seats that people are not using, or for whatever reason, there are house seats that they sell at the last minute. So sometimes you can even get it same day. But
at the box office.
At the box office. But generally, don't cut yourself off and say, I'm not going to see this for a year. So you can see almost everything. Some shows, by the way, although the seats that you get at tickets are not always the best, sometimes they're better than the best. Sometimes they're in the fourth or fifth row. They may be on the side, but there are some shows that I like to see from the balcony. Sometimes on a large musical, it's more important to see the spectacle than it is to see the faces. And I've seen shows both ways, and so don't sneer at tickets way up above. Sometimes it's better. I saw Le Cargeau Falls from very up close and from very far back, and I liked it better from far back.
You get a sense of the whole a little better, yeah. Do you find in your adventures that you tend to meet people on your way? I mean, are you kind of open and kind of sharing the adventure with strangers? And
yeah, in several ways. If you're on a subscription, if you're going regularly, and I go to 92nd Street Y has Lyrics and Lyricists. They run on Saturday night, Sunday, and Monday. And if you go regularly on a subscription, you find that you're sitting next to the same people all the time, and you get to know them. Sometimes you get to know them very well, and they develop into friendships. Or if you go to concerts, sometimes you'll sit next to someone, people with like interests, and you say, well, let's go out and have some coffee afterwards, and you do that, and suddenly become good friends, and that's taken care of. Walking tours are very interesting because you do meet people. There's a wonderful attitude that people have on walking tours, and you see the same people, sometimes with the same tour guide, sometimes with different organizations, because they're walking tour enthusiasts. We another thing that we like very much, you talk about people, we like to go with people. There are people that we know who we like to go on walking tours with, but we would not go to the theater with. They have different interests.
Yeah, sure.
There are some people that are interested in one type of theater and not others. Some people we spend a lot of time with. We went to something which was really off Broadway, and they agonized over it. They hated it because it was so far out. But we enjoyed it because it was theater. And yet these same people go to what I consider to be way out theater, which I would not go to. But this particular thing they didn't like. So you have to know your people. You certainly don't want to go with people who you've dragged out there and said, this is going to be great, and then they hate it.
Yeah, definitely.
So you do meet people, but you also have a chance to socialize. We do certain things with certain people all the time.
Well, it sounds like you have a wonderful time off on these various and sundry
There's too much to
adventures.
do, actually.
Yeah. Do you ever suffer from a kind of paralysis because there's so much out there to do? It's kind of hard to choose.
I feel sometimes that we're oversated and that we have too much. We used to go to a lot of cabaret, and there's a lot of very good cabaret in New York, and there are all sorts of cabaret festivals and award ceremonies, which we went to. And then after a while, we said, we're just too much of this. So we're very selective now. So if there's a Barbara Cook or Karen Akers who we enjoy, then we'll go to them. But we may not. You can go every night to one of the places where you can go to cabaret. but sometimes you get too much.
Yeah.
I never get too much theater, by the way.
Ah, great. Me either. Karen Akers is sometimes up at the Emlyn, I
That's
think,
correct.
isn't she? Yeah,
Yes.
she's wonderful.
A lot of the people do break in their shows so they're going to be at Rainbow and Stars or at the Algonquin after that. But you will actually see the show before it hits, quote, the big time, and see it there in a wonderful, intimate setting in a marvelous theater. Emlyn is one of the gems of Westchester, and they have great things and great variety, and it's a small theater, so there isn't a bad seat in the house. Westchester Broadway Theater, Broadway quality material. They're doing Fiddler on the Roof, for example, with Mike Burston, who's a well-known performer.
Been reading about him. Yeah.
So they're doing top quality things. Again, there isn't a bad seat in the house, and it's not dinner theater in the sense that it used to be, that it's less than the best. It's very, very good productions that they do there.
Great. You've also mentioned oftentimes kind of outdoor events that are fun and pretty much free, like you were mentioning about the book country in the city. That sounded wonderful.
There are a lot of things. They close off Fifth Avenue, and they have various publishers and organizations who have booths set up. And they're great. They're interesting. The authors are there very often. You get to meet them. You talk to them. I can't say that everybody else is going to do that, but you certainly can't guess for your show unless you have a show.
Sure.
But many of my guests I have met at the book fair. And of course, I mentioned earlier the Museum Mile, which is a wonderful thing. In June, they shut off Fifth Avenue, everything from the Metropolitan Museum all the way up to the Museum of the City of New York. And they shut off the street, and you can go into all of the museums, in and out of them, and they have street entertainment.
So it becomes kind of a festival.
It is like a festival. They have entertainers out there, and it's wonderful, and there's a wonderful spirit that's going on.
Now, we're going to be challenged to watch all the sources of information that you've told us about to find out when all these events are.
You just have to keep alert.
To pay attention.
You have to make a list. And you have to make the list that you can refer to, because if you don't do that, it's going to end up in that basket, and you're going to miss them.
That's right.
And it'll go by, and you won't see it. Another way to do it simply is to just have a calendar, whether it be a book or on the wall, and you just put in the possibilities and just stick them up there. Of course, if you put them on your list and you don't refer to them, it's like not having the tree in the forest, So you really have to look at your sources, and it becomes a way of life. It's not just leisure time, it is a way of life. And you know what else is a way of life? I know usually I say this to my guests, but I guess I have to say it to my interviewer. It's a wonderful thing about doing this program is that you run out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
and that's the nice thing about this. It's been wonderful, and I'm so glad that you came here and interviewed me.
Well, it's been very interesting for me. I didn't know how much you knew and how much you were really tracking all these things.
Yeah, you got to track it. You got to keep track of it. And thanks for coming, and thanks for interviewing me, and thanks for allowing me to share this with my audience. I'm Norman Liss. I've been interviewed today by Nancy Gold on the subject of how do you find out about what's going on for The Way to Go? Well, now you know. This program is called The Way to Go, and I invite you to join me as we constantly explore places to go and things to do. And my theme is always, enjoy yourself.